Number 4 of the 4 most important things that I've ever learned in my life. I learned the distinction between being and becoming. Now, the way I learned it is this. Look, I cannot be different than I am. What you see is what you get. I am the way I am. I have the age I have, the size I have, the knowledge I have, the background I have, the parents I have, the hometown I have, the education I have, the years of experience I have, and that's it. And you could say, well, you can't be like that. Well, you'd be dead wrong, man. I not only can be like this, I am like this, and it's the only way I can be. And you say, you can't be that fat. Oh, yeah, to the ounce, I weigh what I weigh. And you say, you have to weigh at least 100 pounds less. I can't weigh 100 pounds less. I can't even weigh 1/100th of an ounce less. I weigh what I weigh. Now, I could become 100 pounds less, but I can't be 100 pounds less. There's only one way I could become 100 pounds less, and that is if I would not eat anything more today, since I've already had plenty. And if I would not eat more than 1,000 calories the next day, and the next week, and the next year, and the next... I could become 100 pounds less, but I can't be 100 pounds less. I can only be the way I am. Kids cannot be different than they are. What you see is what you get, and the way they are is the way they are. They have the attitude they have, the study skills they have, the ability to do math, the attitude towards math, the attitude towards school. They have the parents they have, the support at home they have, the prior life they have, and they cannot be different. And if you ever said to a kid, you can't be like that, you would be dead wrong. He not only can be like that, he is like that, and it's the only way he can be. And I'll tell you another thing. If you ever told me that I am unacceptable to you the way I am, but I can only be the way I am, then I would have one thing to say to you, and that's, what else could I say? If I am unacceptable to you the way I am, but I can only be the way I am, then the best thing I can do is sever our relationship. And I can do that whether you're with me or not. And you can call them school alienated, and you can call them at risk, and you can call them scum and scuzzies and bottom kids and freaks, and you can call them anything you want. But when the school does not accept them, then the best thing they can do is show you that they don't need you. And as soon as you say they are unacceptable the way they are, but they have to be the way they are, and they cannot get any recognition from you because you're not going to accept them, then they'll show you how to get accepted, man. They'll show you that they're smarter than any kid you've ever... They'll show you they can drink more beer and steal more things and get more money and drive faster. The only way we leave them is the illicit. Man, if they can't satisfy us the way they are, but they can only be the way they are, then they'll show us how to do it the other way. Kids cannot be different than they are. What you see is what you get. And if you say, well, you can't be like that, first you have to change so that you quit throwing things and you keep your mouth shut, and then you can get so. He can't do that. But you see, he could become different. But there's only one way he could become different. And that is if you, through your professionalism as a teacher, could get him to take one step toward being a kid who cares, or a kid who tries, or a kid who brings a pencil and doesn't throw it across the room or stab anybody with it. He could become a kid who sits for a full 20 minutes without shouting and causing trouble. He could become a kid who for today tries to do it. He could become a kid who develops at least one skill in the working with it today, the next 20 minutes. He could become anything we are capable of getting him to become. But he cannot be different. He can only become different. Now for the bad news. You cannot be different than you are. What you see is what you get. The way you are is the way you are. You have the knowledge you have, the prior teaching experience you have, the temerity you have, the lessons you have, the knowledge you have, the fear of evaluation that you have. You are the way you are. Teachers cannot be different. You could say, boy, next year I'm going to be different. And I got news for you. Next year you're going to be just like you were this year. You don't go around changing by saying, I'm going to be different. Now, you could become different, but there's only one way you could become different. And that is if you would be willing to take one step toward being a teacher who allows for more differences, toward being a teacher who recognizes the importance of some of the differences in learning style or whatever. You could become a teacher who has more ways of relating to more kids. You could become a teacher who's much more sensitive to the needs of individuals. You could become a teacher who has the latitude to offer a whole lot more things. You could become a teacher who has more caring. You could become whatever it is you're capable of becoming, but you cannot be different. And I'd like to leave you with the idea that was so helpful to me in relation to this, that when we talk about becoming as opposed to be, that what we're really looking at is not a place at all. It's much more a direction. And the way Robert Kennedy helped me to see it through his quote from George Bernard Shaw was when he said, "Some people see things as they are and ask why, but I dream dreams that never were and ask why not." You see, the significance of it being, we could sit here and say, what's wrong and whose fault is it, and what do we need to do, and what about the violence, and what about the gangs, and what about the kids who don't make it, and what about the parents that are having kids and aren't training them and aren't watching them, and what about and you could sit there and talk all day if you wanted to about it, but it wouldn't do any good. But if you said, how ought it to be? What do we need to do given that they don't get the training at home, given that their parents are showing, given that the TV is all showing all the violence? What is it we need to, what is it we want to happen, and how do we take the steps that get us there? If instead of focusing on what's wrong and whose fault and what we can't do and what the problems are, we began to focus on what ought to be, and then we began to take the steps that would get us there, then it could all be different. You see, some people see things as they are and ask why. But I dream dreams that never were and ask why not. Why not?